Absolutely. Let's see whether they can make it 4 in a row to start the week here at the Esports World Cup. That would be fantastic news for Vitality, if indeed they can achieve it. But let's see. There they are, all waiting ready. Eyes focused on the line as the green flag waves in race 2 of day 2 here at the Esports World Cup. And it's Marcel Cinchik again in towards turn number 1. And this time clears the field into the first turn. Josh Rogers fighting alone as the Maus BMWs swarm him in towards the second corner. A little bit of a tap on the rear from Dennis Schoninger, and the Australian gets sideways, but he holds on to second place.
Yeah, really good start there from Josh Rogers. Cinchik as well doing exactly what he needs to do, but look at Maus flying in formation on the run now towards the Spitzker hairpin at turn number 6. Not too much progress going on in the background as well, as Maus, I think, really good at consolidating this position. Benneker now backing off, conceding to Schoninger as a huge send in the background as well from one of the Vitalities. Good there, big contact as we reach the apex. Change the lead as well as Rogers tries to go to the outside of turn 6.
Rogers way too late on the brakes, but somehow he's pulled it up in time, and he's still alongside his big rival Marcel Cinchik here, side by side through the fast right-hander into the Mercedes arena, and Josh Rogers still on the inside, and can Cinchik just hold it there for now? He's still there, but no, Josh Rogers, the man so successful around the Hockenheim ring, has got this race lead, and Dennis Schoninger's trying to add insult to injury now to Marcel Cinchik as he gets to the inside in time for the fast right-hander. Big slide from Rogers, who takes the lead.
Yeah, really good stuff there from Josh Rogers. Now Maus need to capitalise on this from Cinchik. He's going to be out of his rhythm after losing that pole position, but Cinchik, one of those drivers that can really snap back into it, get his composure back and get back into the hunt after Josh Rogers. We know the Porsche, not particularly strong in a straight line, but really good with the acceleration coming out of corners, of course with that mid-rear engine that it's got in the sort of the back end of the car. But Rogers leads the first lap and Cinchik just in behind. Maus, you're losing a place. Yuri Kasdorp behind now Charlie Collins, so good to see, of course, Porsche trying to make a bit of a recovery after a slightly poor qualifying towards the back of the field.
Maus are scoring more points than Vitality, though. They're scoring 45 as it stands to 28 from Vitality, and that might be even more now as Kasdorp gets back down the inside of Charlie Collins into turn 2. Can he maybe join his teammates now? And he's going to get the slipstream assistance from Moritz Lerner, and he's just about there, isn't he? Lerner now, you just noticed him off of the racing line to the right-hand side there, just giving slipstream to Kasdorp, but look at this, Yuri Toman, he comes through on the inside, 3 wide, coming down into the hairpin, where we saw such drama yesterday. Is there going to be some more here? Down into the corner, 3 wide, they make it through cleanly, can you believe it? Yuri Toman diving to the inside with Kasdorp being sandwiched here in the middle of 3 wide for these 3 teams.
Yeah, great mutual respect given between all 3. No one wants to throw this race away on lap 2. Also now getting involved as well, the 88 of Erhan Yujovski, who goes through. Muscled wide though is Charlie Collins off the exit of the Mercedes arena section. This could get messy very quickly, side by side, as well as Kasdorp trying to hang on there with Toman involved. Now towards Mobile 1 once again, it's wiggling and squirming towards the braking zone of one of the fastest corners on the circuit.
Goodness me, how have they all managed to get through there? Collins gets it ahead of Yujovski, and then Kasdorp, look at that from Caruso. He wants to get past Toman. Dave Warren's on the outside as well. The teammates are actually side by side. Caruso and Warren, they'll sort that out, surely. No, they haven't. Warren's still side by side, this time with Thibaut Casabon down the back end of the field. But what a mess that could have been. Somehow they all get away with it.
Yeah, I don't know how they managed that, but these are the best races in sim racing. Another lap down, and Rogers still leads from Cinchik and Benneker as well, starting to break away from the rest of the pack. But Maus scoring really consistently. Yeah, they're not leading, at least at the moment. Benneker still with a very strong shout, especially with the slipstream now as they exit their way through turn 2 and that run towards turn 6. Following along with Marcel Cinchik, let's see who's going to lead by the next time we make our way in towards turn number 6 at this next hairpin. Of course, Joshua Rogers might be looking in his mirrors as here comes Cinchik for the lead.
We know the Aston Martin's strong in a straight line, and it's difficult to hold back, especially if you're in a Porsche. Marcel Cinchik to the inside line, and there's not much that man there on the right-hand side can do. He's on the outside line now for that hairpin. He's just about stayed there, but we've seen that in the past. Whether that gives him the place or not remains to be seen. Now through turn 7, he's on the outside line here, and he'll be on the inside of the Mercedes arena, but does that mean he can hold the place? It did last time. What about this time, as Cinchik is a little bit further alongside, still side by side, coming into turn 10 now, but round the outside from Josh Rogers he's through, and look at Max Benneker, he's going to go through on Cinchik and maybe Rogers as well, into the final sector. Benneker there, hung back, and he just waited for his moment to strike, and he has got second place.
Brilliant racecraft as well. Now Cinchik is in danger of losing yet another position to Dennis Schoniger. Again, Maus working really strong as a pack, hunting their way through this field. Rogers with a stark defense, though, really well done, but fantastic racecraft shown there from Benneker, showcasing why he's one of the most successful drivers in R1. We've got Rogers versus Benneker, two drivers champion, of course, of this series, and they're fighting at the front.
And again, look at the teammate importance here. Rogers having to fight on his own, finding this difficult. Cinchik especially, every time he gets overtaken, he looks like he's going to be overtaken by everybody.
Yeah, exactly, and that pack racing dynamic, again, you've got to be careful of losing your rhythm, especially in races like this. You get overtaken, it's almost like everyone behind you, especially when they're the teammates of the guy that's just overtaken you, they smell blood in the water and they hunt you down. Cinchik has to be so careful, but that's the thing, Maus are working, they're in a line, working with each other. Porsche and Vitality, they're dispersed. That means they can't really support each other, and even though they're sort of spread throughout the field, they really can't capitalize and work their way forwards because they've got no one else to lean on and support each other with. They're all fighting their own respective battles really well, but they're doing it exactly that, all by themselves.
Let's have a look at some replays from the start. This is, or from just a moment ago. This is Benneker's view. Just watch this here. Just looks for that right-hand side, just goes for it. It's great racecraft, isn't it? Just to watch those two in front, take each other off the road and take that place.
Yeah, nice, and that's years of experience for Benneker, just really coming into the limelight there. He analysed that situation, read the body language of the two cars in front of him, said, right, cool, yeah, this is a pretty mid-speed right-hander, they're going to run wide, I'm going to get back underneath them with some good acceleration, and now he's got eyes forward to try and go for the lead of the race, though. Rogers searching for his 9th victory around the Hockenheim ring, so far proving that even though the Porsche maybe not the quickest round one lap, in terms of the race distance with the acceleration zones that we have here at the Hockenheim ring, Josh Rogers doing a really, really good job is just to hang on.
Well, we had a new winner in 2025, actually, in Sebastian Job just a moment ago. He hadn't won this year, if you can believe it. Didn't do all of the rounds, didn't do many of the rounds, actually, online, which does explain quite a lot. But, yes, we had a new winner. I wonder whether we're going to keep that going. Well, not likely. In fact, almost impossible. Certainly in this race situation. Rogers versus Benneker, though. How many times have we seen that over the course of sim racing's history? These are two very well-storied drivers. They are so well known, so well liked, and they are going to go back-to-back, head-to-head again. Rogers versus Benneker into the hairpin. This time Rogers chooses the inside line, chooses to defend. He didn't do that with Marcel Cinchik. Benneker on the outside line. He's going to try and do what Rogers has done to hold on to the lead on both the occasions with which he's been attacked so far. In fact, that Porsche traction might see him clear in time for turn 7, and it does. Yeah,
really good stuff. Again, that rear mid-engine really working well for the Porsche, planting some of that weight on the rear tyres, giving it the traction it needs to accelerate out of the slowest corner on the circuit. Bit of a tap to the rear end, though, from the 71 of Benneker. Cinchik as well, maybe just getting hip check going through the Mercedes arena section. We're now half of the way through this race distance, and anything can happen as we approach the second half. This is really where the stakes are going to mount up, but when it comes to the team's championship, when it comes to points being scored, Maus 2, 4 and 5.
And there was something very interesting that we heard from actually Redline, who was speaking in the last race. They were saying, well, it doesn't actually matter if we actually take the most points out of all of these teams, we just need to not be last today and not pick up any penalty points as well. I wonder whether Maus are thinking about that, because they've got 3 in the top 5. They're not winning, yes, but they are scoring good points, especially as far as staying clear of that drop zone goes.
Realistically as well, right? And when you're sort of observing the other teams on track and you sort of know who your rivals are and stuff, you're going to look at this, and yeah, the day is far from done. You're going to look at a team like Williams, who didn't score many points at Fuji. Of course, there is still time for them to recover, but you're going to say, okay, realistically, we don't need to beat Porsche. Like you say, just don't be last. It's almost that thing of, I don't need to outrun the monster, I just need to outrun you. That's all they need to do, is to avoid elimination. But again, they're racing drivers, they're probably going to see an opportunity, if it's an easy opportunity, and maybe go for it. But you're right, there is going to be an element of caution that maybe limits their risk.
It's nice to know you'd sacrifice me.
Oh, 100%, absolutely.
Side by side for the lead. Rogers versus Benneker again, like they were just one lap ago, and that's even less of a traction zone, for Max Benneker. Couldn't quite get the traction based on the Porsche, but he seems much stronger here. Coming through turn 7, he's on the outside again in time for the Mercedes arena. This is where he got walloped by Cinchik last time. Is it going to happen again? Not quite. Cinchik dove quite deep actually as well. He's certainly looking to try and get involved, and that's where it is interesting. Maybe less so for Maus actually, because as I say, they might well hold station, but Cinchik and Rogers are the only ones. They need to score as many as possible.
Yeah, exactly. They're really flying the flag for their team, especially in this race, and Schoniger and Lerner doing exactly what they need to do. Rear gunners corners, score some decent points, get involved if you can. You can see they're not really taking too many risks against Chinchik. I think maybe waiting for the Hungarian to get involved himself, make a mistake, and once again lose that rhythm that they can once again capitalise on. Chinchik starting from pole, lost the place to Rogers. A couple laps later, got sort of knocked out of his rhythm, got into a fight with the Porsche. Beneker capitalised. We could yet see a very similar thing happening. Lap 7 of 10. We've ticked off 6 of these laps around the Hockenheim ring, and to be fair, been quite an enthralling race so far in terms of the tension and the stakes that we've got for today.
There's Charlie Collins, was Charlie Collins, on the right-hand side. He's in 6th place at the moment, the only other Porsche Carrera driver inside the top half of this field. So they now make their way out of turn 3 again and towards the Parabolica in time for the hairpin. Is Beneker close enough again? Well, he'll be hoping so. That's Rene, the team manager of Maus, looking to see what his team are going to do. Are they going to hold station? Yes, is the answer. I wonder whether that call has come through now. We've got 3 in the top 5, all 4 in the top 8. Let's not do anything silly here and throw this all away. Yeah,
they've seen how quickly it can all come unravel. They got that first stand in Group B where Williams seemed to be clear favourites to top the group, and then it was a big bit of carnage going into turn number 6 at this very track that really threw the whole thing and ripped up what we thought was going to happen, threw it in the air, and can very quickly turn the narrative of the group. Did want to comment actually on the struggles of Dane Warren at the back. Of course, he had a really good race at Fuji, but statistically this is his best circuit, is the Hockenheim. At the moment running down in P10, barely able to get involved with Yuri Toman.
I wonder whether those other Porsche Carrera drivers are going to par and Josh Rogers is just doing what he does and winning and outperforming everybody ever, because that's what he does. I've got no evidence to back that up, but that's just my suggestion.
Feeling.
Yeah, it is a gut feeling. Kastorp was under pressure from Toman there as well, by the way, for 8th place, and just to briefly circle back to that penalty point thing I mentioned earlier on, just 1 point away from his first qualifying ban, Yuri Kastorp. That would be the first race tomorrow, should they make it there, and indeed if he gets a penalty point. So he's got to watch out for that, and the other Maus drivers will have to as well. They don't want to be receiving those qualifying bans going forward into the finals, indeed, if they make it there, or indeed at any stage of this competition. Out of turn 3 again, and Josh Rogers still leads this race. What about those guys further behind? Yuri Kastorp, Yuri Toman and Dane Warren, all nose to tail on the way through the Parabolica. 8th place at the moment for Kastorp, few positions down on where he qualified, and he's got some more defending to do now as the Czech driver comes down the inside. Yuri Toman, they both brake late, in fact, and Dane Warren might have the best traction. He will in that Porsche. Bit of a slide as well from Toman. Where is the Australian going to go here? He's stuck behind the two of them. He's going to stay where he is. Yeah, even though the Porsche's got slightly better traction, he was almost too close to really use it. This is going to force Yuri Kastorp, though, to go defensive. The inside is going to open up then for the 57 Porsche of Dane Warren, who does find his way to the inside of the Aston Martin. It's then going to be the outside for the next right, though, and realistically never going to happen. So Yuri Kastorp able to hang on, but you're right, he's got to be careful in fights exactly like this as to not pick up that qualifying ban. But yeah, Warren is doing a good job, and of course he's not too worried about Casabon behind, because Caruso acting as a bit of a barrier, allowing him to set up some good moves, maybe switchbacks, brake slightly earlier into some corners to allow him to use that traction of the Porsche. Now then, 2 more laps rather. It's just starting in a moment. It's the end of lap 8 of race number 2. It's the group stage of the Esports World Cup in 2025, where one team will be eliminated. Not really talking too much about points at the moment, because it's very hard to know who's really leading. From this race at least, Maus are scoring 47, Vitality 25. What that really means going forward is unknown. At the moment, Porsche Carrera per race on average are scoring about 40.5 points, but they've done 2 already. Their 2 will be scattered later on in the day. Race 7 will be their final one, and race 5 will be their next. So they've got an hour or so away from the sim rigs in a few moments' time. Down on the brakes again in time for the hairpin. Not much happening now for the top 5, but Josh Rogers has just got to consolidate this lead now, trying to take the win in this first race of the day for Maus and Vitality, second race overall, because they very much need him to. Porsche Carrera is the only driver in the top 5. Yeah, Josh Rogers, like we've been saying, just doing exactly what Josh Rogers does best, right? This is why he's statistically the most successful driver in R1, most wins, most podiums, that sort of thing as well, and most wins at LAN, interestingly. So Josh Rogers, even though maybe slightly struggling throughout the online season, Charlie Collins, who, by the way, has really stepped up in 2025, actually outscored Rogers over the online season in terms of raw points. Coming into EWC, I was maybe thinking, is Rogers off the pace a little bit? He's definitely showing that is firmly not the case. Really able to just adapt to this newer
equipment dissimilar to last year and dissimilar to what Porsche Commander regularly use. So they really have had a hard time adapting and have had to really step up. Josh Rogers has done exactly that. Hanya Yovsky, who has had a pretty suboptimal start to his Esports World Cup in 2025, consolidating some good points back for Vitality in P7. Still got an opportunity maybe to hunt down Charlie Collins as we head on to the final lap of the race.
Lap 10 of 10. And Josh Rogers looks like he's going to take victory here. Let's see if he does. What about Erhan Yovsky as well? Can he maybe inflict some more pain on Porsche Commander right now? But there is Josh Rogers. He should be far enough ahead there. Max Benneker going down into the hairpin. He's done a good job here as well. When he got the lead initially, he did look under a lot of pressure from the drivers in behind him, attacking him all which ways, Chinchik and then Benneker as well. But since then, he's looked pretty comfortable.
Yeah, he has indeed. Josh Rogers, I think, again, Benneker, Chinchik have got the memo, really, of we're in a good position here. First, second, third, fourth, or fifth. Doesn't really matter as long as we're not sick. That's all that really matters. We do these 8 races. We only drop one team, so it is tense being towards the further sort of the back end of the field, being like, oh, are they going to outscore us? That sort of thing. You don't want to be that one team that goes out because 5 out of 6 of them are going through to the rest of the competition. But yeah, it is going to be difficult really to weigh up your compromise at this point. Josh Rogers wants this win. Benneker wants this win, but at the end of the day, they're going to maximise their overall points all for the rest of the competition.
I think because it's the first race of the day for Miles, they're just taking things a little bit more cautiously, and the front 4 in the top 8 is absolutely fantastic news for them. So they're pleased with the day, but they're not going to win. That's going to be Josh Rogers once again. And how many times have we said that over the course of R1's history? It's now 9 times at the Hockenheim Ring and 7 times just this year. Josh Rogers wins for Porsche Commander, holds off his long-time rival Max Benneker, and Marcel Chinchik makes it all 3 teams with a representative on the podium here this afternoon. Porsche Commander come back with a victory, and it is Josh Rogers at a circuit he loves so much.
Really good stuff there from Josh Rogers, doing exactly what he needs to do. Obviously, the final half of the race, bit calm. I think the initial sort of scramble was to decide sort of the status quo for the rest of the race. Consolidate some good points early doors, be aggressive, get out punching, and then try and just score some decent points for the rest of the race. All 3 teams, though, outscoring Williams for so far in this competition, and again, cementing themselves as maybe being in a comfortable place to stay in this competition.
I don't think any of the 3 teams particularly displeased with that race.
Pretty decent for all 3 of them, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 47 points from Miles, 25 for Vitality, maybe a little bit on the disappointing side.